I want to start this video out by saying all constitutional rights invoked, none waived. All constitutional rights invoked, none waived. This video is going to be a little different. I want to answer some of the questions that I have been getting over and over the years that I just haven't addressed. Lots of questions that are both relevant to the things that are going on, and some questions are just, general questions that are not relevant to what's going on. Just to give everyone a little bit more information as to who I am and, what I've done, other than the things that they know, and a little bit more of a highlight of, what has occurred and, the different types of work that I've done in these cases and stuff like that. So, getting right into it, the first question that I want to address is, what all courts have you been in? Quite a few. The Federal Bankruptcy Court of Ohio, the Ohio Supreme Court, the Arizona Superior Court, the Arizona Court of Appeals, the Arizona District Federal Court, the Ohio District Federal Court, the Franklin County Municipal Court, the Arizona Municipal Court, the Summit County Court of Common Pleas, the Summit County Court of Appeals, the Franklin County Domestic Court, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the U.S. Supreme Court, the Franklin County Civil Court, the Dreamy Draw Justice Court, and the Sixth Circuit BAP Bankruptcy Appellate Court. Okay, those are all the courts that I've been in. Another question is, would you go to law school? At the age of 38, no. I don't see the need. I don't see the benefit. I don't see the need. I don't see how that would do anything for me, for my life. I just don't see it. Who is someone you were inspired by growing up, and why? I was mostly inspired by possibilities, just possibilities of challenging myself, of seeing something and say, well, can I do that? And challenging myself to try. And that would explain why I've tried a lot of things. I've done many different things in my time, both as a hobby and as money-making opportunities as well. Another question is, who taught you all the law stuff? I taught myself. I taught myself all of it. Now, this is the biggest question that I get all the time. What is your religion? I don't have a specific religion. It's more of like a spiritual thing. It's more of like a spirituality. And that's pretty much it. I don't have like a certain label of a religion that I belong to or that I'm interested in belonging to. None of that. Okay? Do you read any religious texts? I've read the Torah. I've read the Bible. But just as learning tools, and research tools, I haven't read them to say that that's what that that's what I am. I just read it for just research purposes and education purposes. Have you talked to any past relatives since the passing of Moses? No, I have not. I have not. Do you want to speak with any of them? No, I do not. If you could give someone else advice, what would you say? I would say focus on yourself, fall in love with you and your higher power that you believe in, because that's all you will truly ever have. You can't have nothing but that, okay? So that's all you will ever have, regardless of what you believe. You can possess all the material possessions, all the money, all the whatever you have, but it's never going to be yours anyways. It'll never be yours anyways. What else have you learned? I've also learned that nothing outside of you will ever truly belong to you. You can only utilize those things that's on the outside of you, but you can't own them. You will never own them. Even when you think you do, you don't. You don't own nothing, and you never will be able to. Let's see, what else is there on here? If you can do something all over again, what would it be? I would have to say the answer to that question is kind of bizarre, because I'm one of them people that's just brutally honest. I don't know how to be fake. So if I could do it all over again, I would have dropped out of school at the age or at the grade of at the 6th or 7th grade, and I would have become self-taught with everything from that point on, and I would be further than I am now, for a fact. Another question is, would you ever get married? Hell no. Why? Because I don't believe in it at all. Were your parents married when you were born? Yes, they were. But I've never seen them together. I've never seen them together. They've been married to one another for over 25 years or longer. But I never seen them actually together with one another. So there goes that. There goes that. All right. Next question. Is it true that you used to hang out at an attorney's office sometimes after school as a kid? Yes. I hung out downtown Akron from time to time because I used to catch the bus to school. So the metro bus, the city bus, I used to catch the bus to school. So on the way home from school, I wouldn't be ready to go home, directly home, so I would stop at Vasco, Roberto, and Evans, downtown Akron, and I would sit in the office with George Vasco, who was an attorney. He was a really good friend of mine, and he was from Ukraine. And we would just used to talk about certain different stuff. We never really talked about any law stuff, though. Like, we just would have general conversations. He would say, "What are you doing? What have you been up to?" And, all that kind of stuff. But we never had any kind of conversations about laws, which was kind of strange, because all the law stuff that I came to learn. And I used to have other friends who were attorneys, but we never talked about law. I've had other friends who knew law and who knew like real estate laws and things of that nature, but we never talked about law. But we just were kind of like magnetically attracted to one another, to cross paths for whatever reason. Another question: is it true that you wrote songs that are on file at the Library of Congress? Yes, songwriting is like one of my favorite things to do when I had time to do it, when I wasn't, going through stuff. That's what I would predominantly like to do. That was fun for me. That was like a pastime thing for me, just to, pass off some time. And I think it was mostly interesting to me and fun for me because it was endless. Like there's different song forms, there's different genres of music, so it's just so many different aspects of music that you can go into. So it was always interesting to me because it wasn't something that can easily be mastered and then get boring. Because from time to time I would master things and then it'll just get boring and I lose interest because I mastered it so much. But for the music, it was never like that because it was kind of like cooking to me. It was kind of just like cooking where you can just keep doing stuff. You just keep changing the ingredients, keep, deviating. And yeah, it was like it was almost like an experiment to me. So that's what I liked to do as well. Another question: is it true you own a 17-year-old corporation? Yes, I do. I formed a corporation many years ago for a skincare formula that I personally formulated. And it was quite successful starting out. But then, I experienced some things where certain vendors just disappeared without notice and things of that nature. So I was turned off from that. So that kind of just sat there. Next question: is it true that you got your vendor's license at the age of 14? Yes, that is true. That's true. When I was 14 years old, I wanted to become a reseller of furniture, of imported furniture. So I was looking into that, and I went and got a vendor's license. I walked into the place in Akron to get a vendor's license, and the people in there, they was like, "What are you here for?" And I said, "I'm here for a vendor's license." And they was like, who told you that this is where you get the vendor's license? I said, "I looked it up." And they said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 14. And they kind of looked at each other and scratched their heads. And they was like, "Do you really want a vendor's license? Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." So I paid the fee and they typed me up the vendor's license. I paid the fee and they typed me up the vendor's license. And what that vendor's license allowed me to do, it allowed me to register with a company in Woodside. I think it was Woodside, New York or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. And the name of the company was called Acme Furniture. And I registered with Acme Furniture, and then I set up an account with them, and I was able to go travel. I took my dad up to New York, and I took a truck up there, and he drove the truck. It was a big Ryder truck, and I went up there and got a whole bunch of furniture, a whole bunch of nice furniture, dinette sets, lamps, all kind of stuff, brand new. And I resold it. I resold it. I resold on eBay. I did a lot of eBay and stuff like that. So, I've done that before. That got old to me, and I stopped doing that, got bored with that. What other kind of businesses have you owned and operated? I also in 2004, I also acquired a Avis car rental. I was the owner operator of that Avis car rental, and it was located in Middleburg Heights, Ohio. And I used to open the store, and I was really, passionate about my customers, passionate about, pleasing the customer was always the number one thing for me, because I knew that if I could please that customer in such a way, they're going to come back. If I can treat them in a way that I know the next person is not going to treat them, they're going to come back. So that's the practice that I practiced with that, and I was able to have success with that. I got bored with that and got out of that. So let's see the next question. What are some things that you noticed on your journey of life that you want to share? I also noticed that in addition to hard work that you put in, you must also know and understand that it matters who the work comes from. And let me give you an example of what I mean by when I say it matters who the work comes from. Okay. For example, I've done work for other people, and I allowed them to put their name on it as if it was theirs. Okay? And they've won awards, honorable recognition, and all of that for it, which was not surprising to me, but it was exciting to see that the true recognition of my work, the true recognition of something that I had done, went on to be a success for someone else. And that, for me, was big, because what that told me is it showed me that I can do something, and if I try to do it for myself, it may not get recognized in the same way because it's coming from me. But yet when I give it to someone else and they pass it off as theirs, or pass it off as if they did it, or pass it off as if, they came up with it all, they get the recognition and the praise, honorable praise for it. So it just showed me the truth about, who I am and my potential, regardless of when people try to cover that up and deny me that, that is a way that I would realize that my work was really, really good work. It's just a lot of bias of who it comes from. Another question is, what kind of cars have you owned or liked in the past? I've owned a Escalade. I've owned a 300. I've owned a Bonneville. I've owned a LeSabre. I've owned a Toyota Prius, and I've owned a Cutlass. But my favorite cars are red Lamborghinis and red Ferraris. Those are my favorite kind of cars, is Ferraris and Lamborghinis. All right. Next question. What is your favorite part of law? Well, again, I can't really say that it's my favorite or any part of it is my favorite, because it was something that I didn't choose to learn. It is something that I didn't really choose. I didn't sit down one day and say, oh, today I'm going to learn the law because I really, really want to. I learned the law because I had to. So it was no favorite part, or there was no best part of it, because it was kind of like being in survival mode and learning it. So I kind of learned it in survival mode. And ironically, just growing up, I had different attorneys in my life that we didn't talk about law. We didn't talk about me growing up having a career in law or anything like that. I wasn't interested in any of that. The most I was ever interested in was music and, songwriting. Next question. What are some other things that you have done as a hobby that you have not mentioned? I took an interest in dog breeding. Also, when I was 14, I took an interest in dog breeding, particularly Great Danes. Great Danes were the dog of choice, and Great Danes was my favorite dogs. Those are my favorite dogs. I love those dogs. And I bred those dogs for 6 years, 6.5 years. But like off and on, I would say 10 years off and on, but 6 years consistently. My first Great Dane I had, I got her from Cleveland, and I bred her, and she had 16 puppies. She had 16 puppies, and these puppies, she was having these puppies for 2 days. But at the end of it, it was 16 of them. And I can remember that when she was having them, there was 2 that was dead, that came out that was dead. And one of my relatives was sitting right there next to me, and she was like, oh, it's dead, it's dead. And so I took the dead puppies and set them to the side, and then I took this scooper thing, and I put it in the mouth of one of the dead puppies and got the fluid out the mouth or whatever, and I put my mouth over the dead puppy's snout, and I blew into the puppy's mouth. And my relative was like, what are you doing? Oh my God, what is you doing? And so I just start pressing on the puppy's stomach, and I would start breathing in the puppy, and then it start moving. It start moving. This puppy start moving. And the puppy, it started moving, and my relative she was freaked out. She was like, what? She was like, what the hell? Like she couldn't contain herself, because the puppy was just sitting there stiff as hell. And then it started to live. It started to move around. And so I end up keeping that puppy, and I named her Chloe. I end up keeping that Great Dane, and that Great Dane's name was Chloe. And I sold all the rest of them. I made a pretty decent amount of money to be a 14-year-old. And I think I made like 22,000. I think I made 22,000 off of that litter. And then I was kind of turned off, so I got out of the business because the relative that was there when that puppy was born, that is the same relative that's the same relative that put the dog outside for the animal control people to take the dog from me. So the animal control people took that dog from me, and they said they alleged that I was abusing the dog, like the dog was neglected or something, which the dog wasn't. That was another way to attack what I was doing and to stop what I was doing. So at that point, I was turned off from that. And it was a situation where that dog was sick. That dog had got like worms or something from something, and was losing weight. So when that dog was losing weight, I was feeding it this stuff called Biljack. It's like a clay-like dog food that the dogs like, and it's used. A lot of breeders use that to bulk the dogs up. It's frozen. It's called frozen Biljack. So I was feeding the dog that, but another one of my relatives got me away from the house. And once they got me away from the house, the other relative put the dog out for the animal people to take the dog, which I found out that was also coordinated. So at the time, I was kind of turned off from doing it altogether. But that situation created something inside of me that made me want to open up a veterinarian clinic for people that are on fixed incomes and people that are low income, or students that might not have the income to, pay a large vet bill, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what that situation bred. It bred the desire for me to open up a veterinarian clinic that is basically free for people who are on fixed incomes and or who doesn't have the ability to pay. Because basically what happened to me was I was accused of something that was not true. It was just made to look like that in order to, take my dog away from me. This dog was a very special dog. Her eyes was like a golden color, and she was all white with black ears, and she had a heart pattern on her side, and a lot of people wanted her. But I wouldn't sell her. So someone ended up getting her anyway. The dog that I breathed life into. So that's what happened with the dog breeding. So I kind of was turned off after that. But I did go on to, get other Great Danes after that. And like blues, particularly blue Great Danes was my favorite. I liked the blues. And I did those for a while. And then that was over. I stopped doing that. And then pretty much when I moved to Arizona, I was done with the dog breeding. But I still always wanted to start the veterinarian clinic that would be free for people that were low income or in a situation where they couldn't afford the emergency. That's what I wanted to, start. That's what I wanted to start. Okay, another question. Why do you use the emojis the way you use them? Okay, I use the emojis. The emojis is pretty much expressive. That's me expressing myself without debate. I like to do that. Oftentimes, if you express yourself all the time with words, people want to come in and they want to put their spin on it and debate with you and say what this is not and what that is and what that. And I don't like to do that. So I just put it in an emoji form to express myself. Now, particularly, a lot of people, they had a lot of questions about this alien emoji and this and the flags. Okay, the alien emoji and the flags is, I get that question. I probably got that question at least 150 times. Well, why are you using an emoji? Why you use that? Well, I'm not going to answer that directly because you wouldn't understand my answer anyway. It'll just cause more debate and more confusion. So I just identify with those symbols. They are a part of me. So, that's just the most that I could say, that those are a part of me. And you can interpret that the way that you want to interpret it. But the flags and the alien head emoji is a part of me and a part of who I am. So that's the reason. The next question: do you want to start any other businesses? Or do you want to make any investments or anything like that? The answer is no. The only thing I would want to start is that veterinarian clinic. I don't want to own it. Someone else could own it. I don't want to own it. I don't want nothing to do with it. I just want to start it and leave it. And that's what it is. Other than that, I don't want no businesses. I don't want no businesses. No businesses, no investments, none of that. Not interested. Okay. Another question is, how old were you when you got your first house? I was 16. I was 16 years old, and I was working at PetSmart and going to North High School. And I stayed in a 4-bedroom single-family house that I acquired with my own money. And I stayed there with my 2 Great Danes. I was 16 years old. Next question is, have you ever bought a house? Yeah, my first house that I bought was in 2007. I paid $277,000 for it. It was it was 6 bedrooms. It was a 6-bedroom house. It was a pretty nice house. It was 6 bedrooms. It had 2 kitchens, a kitchen upstairs, kitchen downstairs. It had an in-the-ground pool in the back, a 15-foot in-the-ground pool. But I would never get in that pool because at the time, I couldn't swim, and I was scared of it because the person who had that house built was the owner of a oil company called Bolin Oil. and he apparently was a diver, and he used to like to dive deep. So that pool was like 15 feet deep because he used to like to dive in it. The guy who had the house built. And so it also had a hot tub back there, but I didn't really like to utilize any of that. I'm pretty simple. It just was there, and it was just there. Another question. When you lived in the neighborhood with the big house, were you treated differently? No, I was the only brown person that lived there. The name of the community was called Prestwick Estates, and I was the youngest homeowner there and the only brown homeowner there. And it was funny because one time I was having this party, and I was having this party at my house, and it was a house full of people. I had a house full of people on this particular day, and I had a knock at the door. Well, I heard the doorbell, and everybody kind of froze, like, who is that? Because we know we wasn't expecting no one else, and it just was weird. So I went to the door, and when I went to the door to answer the door, my friend, she was with me when I answered the door. I'm not going to say her name. We're going to just call her, for placeholder purposes, we're going to call her Strawberry. So Strawberry came to the door with me, and we answered the door, and it was the neighbors' kids. They was like, they was young. Cause see, for me, I was at the time, I was 20, 21, and they were at least like 19, 18. They were, younger. And then it was one that was like 16, and they came in. Strawberry was like, let him in, let him in, let him in. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really know them like that. She was like, let them in, just let them in, just let them in. So I let them in. It was like 5 of them. It was 5 of them. And so they came in, and, they told me everything that their parents was saying about me. They told me everything. And that's why kids can be wonderful, because they told me everything. Like, once we all got done partying that night, they said, when you gonna do this again? I was like, I don't know. I said, I don't know. And, at the time, MySpace was going heavy. And so they had hit me up on MySpace, and they was just like, oh, we had such a good time. It was fun. That was fun, bro. That was fun. And it was so funny because they sat up and told me everything their parents said about me. They said, they told us, don't go to that black guy's house. Don't go to that black guy's house. Don't go over there. I bet not catch you all over there. And then they end up coming over anyways. And they end up having the time of their life. They was like, when you gonna do that again? When you gonna do that again? So I think I thought that was quite interesting. But what I learned from that is you can transform any type of energy that someone tries to put on you. You can transfer that into something else. And that's what happened that night, because although their parents didn't know me, they still spoke down on me for obvious reasons. And they also used to drive past the house, and when they would wave at me without looking. I thought that was funny too. They didn't like me being in their neighborhood, but they got used to it. They got used to it real quick. Okay, I think that is going to bring the questions and answers to a close. And what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say that if you have any more questions that you want the answer to, you could put them in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer those directly. Any other kind of questions, keep the questions appropriate. Other than that, I want to say all constitutional rights invoked, now waived, and we are out of here until next time. Thank you.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.